camera slowly lingers in an environment too familiar to be comfortable. A slightly messy room, a forgotten cup on the table, a cell phone vibrating incessantly. The soundtrack is serious, almost too dramatic for the setting. The narrator enters with that deep, respectable voice, as if about to announce the discovery of a new endangered species. At this very moment, in millions of homes around the planet, a highly intelligent creature is about to make an important decision, but not today. Strategic pause. Today, it will postpone it. Welcome to the natural habitat of a curious, contradictory species, dangerously confident that tomorrow will be a better version of today. Homo Procrastinatus, on the contrary, he is always tired, always busy, always planning, always preparing to begin. A fascinating behavior that confounds even the most experienced researchers. Observe closely. He knows exactly what he needs to do. There's no mystery. No lack of information. He watched the videos, read the books, saved the posts, wrote down goals in a notebook that now serves only as a paperweight. Yet, something extraordinary happens between knowing and acting, an invisible phenomenon known as, "I'll do it later." The narrator builds suspense. Here we see a classic example, uttering the most dangerous phrase in the human language. Dramatic close-up. Just a little more. Just one more video. Just one more day. Just one more month. Just until everything is more organized. An ancient mantra, passed down from generation to generation, responsible for dreams abandoned since the dawn of civilization. Homo Procrastinatus lives under the comforting illusion that time is on his side. He believes he can act whenever he wants, that the future is an infinite storehouse of untouched opportunities, that nothing is lost until something begins. A serious conceptual error. Time doesn't hold anything back. It transforms everything. Meanwhile, the individual continues their routine. They wake up promising that today will be different. They feel a brief surge of motivation. Perhaps they even open a file, a project, a plan. But then something happens. A slight discomfort, a doubt, a small yet persistent fear. And immediately the brain kicks in, offering brilliant solutions. It's not the ideal time. You deserve to rest. It makes sense to wait a little longer. All true statements, all used in an absolutely destructive way. Procrastination doesn't impose itself by force. It whispers. It seems reasonable. It never says give up. It says calm down. And while you calm down, it takes root. The music grows more tense. Scientists have discovered something disturbing, the narrator says. Homo Procrastinatus doesn't postpone tasks, he postpones versions of himself. Each postponement sends a clear internal message. I'm not yet the person who does this. An identity, when repeated, becomes a sentence. The most curious thing is that Homo Procrastinatus functions perfectly well under extreme pressure. When the deadline looms, when the pain is inevitable, when there is no escape, at that moment it acts with impressive efficiency, which leads researchers to an uncomfortable conclusion. It's not incapacity, it's excessive comfort. Procrastination thrives in overly safe environments. Environments full of distractions. Environments full of entertainment. Environments full of emotional numbness. Environments where discomfort never reaches the point necessary to generate action. The human brain, intelligent as it is, prefers to suffer a little every day rather than face greater discomfort now. At some point in life, however, something changes. Homo Procrastinatus feels a different kind of weariness. It's not physical, it's not mental, it's existential. An exhaustion from unfulfilled promises to himself. He begins to realize he's tired of waiting, tired of planning, tired of deceiving himself with imaginary deadlines. This moment is rare and dangerous because now the individual can no longer say they don't know. They know, And knowing brings responsibility. The narrator lowers his tone, almost whispering. At this stage, the creature faces its greatest predator, its own conscience. It asks uncomfortable questions. What if the problem isn't the timing? What if it's you? What if tomorrow is exactly like today? The brain panics. It tries to escape. It opens social media. It invents urgent tasks. It cleans things that never needed cleaning, all to avoid the essential action, a behavior known as illusory productivity. It looks like movement. It doesn't generate progress. But some individuals, a few, very few, do something different. They stop. They observe the impulse to procrastinate. And for the first time, they don't obey. Not because they became overmotivated, but because they became lucid. Here, the narrative takes a turn. Homo Procrastinatus realizes something revolutionary. Motivation doesn't come before action. It comes after. Clarity doesn't precede movement. It arises during. Waiting for the perfect emotional state is like waiting for ideal weather to cross a desert. You die planning. The music swells. Total suspense. The individual decides to act small. Ridiculously small. Too small to justify delay. 5 minutes. One step. A simple decision. And something strange happens. The world doesn't end. The discomfort doesn't kill. The fear doesn't materialize. The narrator explains with restrained enthusiasm. When an individual acts despite internal resistance, they send a powerful signal to the brain. The signal is simple. I act even without the will to. And that message changes everything. Procrastination is starting to lose its grip. Not all at once, it fights back. It returns with refined arguments. Today was difficult. You'll do better tomorrow. It doesn't have to be now. But now there is evidence against it. Behavioral evidence. And the brain respects evidence. The climax approaches when the individual realizes an almost offensive truth. There is no disciplined future version waiting to take control. There is only you. Now, with your flaws, your tiredness, your insecurities, and yet capable of acting. This understanding hurts, because it eliminates the comfortable fantasy of when I'm ready. You never will be. And that's liberating, because it means you don't have to wait for anything to begin. The camera slows down. The narrator speaks gravely. The greatest cost of procrastination is not the delay. It's the silent erosion of self-confidence. Every postponement teaches the brain that your words are not trustworthy. Every completed action teaches the opposite. Gradually, the individual who acts builds something rare. Real self-confidence, not based on positive affirmations, but on evidence. He does what he says, even when small, even when imperfect, even when uncomfortable. Suspense dissolves into clarity. The Homo Procrastinatus begins to disappear. In its place emerges someone who doesn't wait to feel before acting. They act in order to feel, and this completely changes the trajectory of life. The camera pulls back. The narrator concludes with elegant irony. Tomorrow is procrastination's favorite place, but today is the only place where life happens. And then the final question falls like a silent hammer. What are you putting off right now while watching this documentary about procrastination? What decision have you been putting off with the excuse that there's still time? Write it in the comments. Making it visible is the first step to breaking the pattern. If this documentary disguised as a reflection made you laugh, recognize yourself, and feel a little uneasy, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who keeps saying, "I'll start on Monday." Because in nature and in life, those who procrastinate too much end up becoming just another record of a species that could have gone much further.